Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hello everybody, Alex Stevenson and Jake Face here. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. We've got Born of the Gods online now. It is pre-release at the time of recording this, still online, so the 15-ticket expensive drafts and sealed events only. Do you remember the time formerly when I think they would do sealed for the first couple days and then they would do draft? That was weird.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure why they did that, but they stopped doing it a little while ago, and I'm glad they did. Because a lot of the drafters were like, oh, I didn't want to.
Right.
I don't want to play sealed, yeah.
Yeah.
But some people are all about sealed. Before we talk about Jake's sweet standard deck, let me do a few plugs off the top. Go to SeemsGoodMagic.com if you haven't heard of our website, and that's where we post all the draft videos, all of the different format videos, standard, modern, legacy, all of that stuff. Randy's been recording some cube drafts. Those are highly entertaining.
Yeah, they are fun.
Those are fun to watch. So yeah, just go to the website, check that out. You can also find all the video podcasts for all the previous Mortarpod episodes in the podcast section. I also wanted to say we're on Alpha Geek Radio now, so wanted to give a shout out to them. Go check out that website, Alpha Geek Radio, and they're really cool. They've got all sorts of podcasts on there, and they're part of the network with Frog Pants, which is a pretty big one. That was the Instance podcast, is like the Warcraft or the World of Warcraft one or whatever. So he got a lot of fans from that, and he's got like the morning stream now. Scott Johnson from Frog Pants. So Ryan's really into him, our buddy.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we're part of that network, and it's kind of exciting. And I think there's been a lot more people tuning in to the podcast because of it. So I appreciate that. There's a cool new audience. So if you want to get a hold of me, any criticisms of the podcast or more stuff you want to hear about, email me at mortarpod@SeemsGoodMagic.com, and you can follow us on Twitter @SeemsGoodMagic, and I tweet when I've posted new content, so it just sort of, if that helps you keep up with the content. I know a lot of people are about Twitter, so I try to keep up with that too. And stream times, typically we're Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do the same schedule for streaming now or if I might switch it up. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to do that pretty soon here. It's been like a month and some change now since I've last logged on Twitch, so I really need to get on that. But since we're having the official release of Born of the Gods online starting Tuesday, I believe, I think, because I think the release is immediately, the pre-release goes right into it now. I'm pretty sure.
I think so too, but
I guess I don't know that for a fact, but I don't know why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I feel like it is true, and it's good that they got the turnaround time quicker, because it used to be so obnoxious waiting a full week or whatever it used to be.
Yeah.
After the pre-release.
Yeah, they got the timing down reasonably well now.
Yeah, because it's just like, it's already out in real life. Just let us play with it, you know.
Okay, well, I guess that's all I wanted to say. So we're going to check out some Star City stuff too later. But for now, Jake's going to run through his F&M standard constructed deck, and this is post Born of the Gods being standard, so kind of exciting. Okay, go ahead, Jake.
Okay, so I wanted to play like a Super Friends style deck. So here it is, and I'll just run through the list quick, and then I can talk about my choices and my matches. I played 1 Aetherling, 2 Ashiok Nightmare Weaver, 3 Kiora the Crashing Wave, 4 Jace, Architect of Thought, 1 Vraska the Unseen, 1 Elspeth, Sun's Champion, 1 Elixir of Immortality, 1 Swan Song, 2 Essence Scatter, 2 Last Breath, 2 Prophetic Prism, 3 Detention Sphere, 2 Dissolve, 4 Supreme Verdict, 1 Obsidat's Aid, 4 Sphinx's Rev. My mana base was 5 Islands, 3 Plains, 3 Hallowed Fountain, 3 Temple of Enlightenment, 1 Temple of Silence, 3 Godless Shrine, 1 Temple of Mystery, 3 Breeding Pool, 1 Temple of Plenty, 1 Temple Garden, 1 Temple of Deceit, and 1 Watery Grave. My sideboard, this is actually not the sideboard that I ran, but this is the sideboard I'll be running from this point on.
Then maybe you want to talk about what each card in your sideboard is for.
Okay. Yeah, I can go over that. Actually, maybe I'll just talk about my matches first, and then I can cover the sideboard.
All right, that's cool.
Maybe it makes a little more sense. So,
maybe you want to talk about what you had in mind when you designed it.
Yeah.
It's got 11 planeswalkers in it, so.
So I definitely wanted to play control. So you can kind of see I built around a blue-white shell with the 3 Detention Sphere, 4 Sphinx's Rev, 4 Supreme Verdict, the Essence Scatter, Last Breath. It's a pretty stock blue-white list, you know. 1 Elspeth, 4 Jace, and the Aetherling. I wanted to play more Planeswalkers because I'm sick of Heroes Downfall being really good, and I figured this would be the way to make it not as great, because it's just like, well, I can just keep playing Planeswalkers, you know, and you just have to keep answering them. And with Obsidat's Aid available to me, I felt like I had even more sustainability, because it was just like, well, I'll just get them back. And the Sphinx's Rev, Elixir of Immortality thing, where you can just draw your whole deck, Elixir, play more Sphinx's Rev. It's a really strong control thing to do, I guess, especially when you're running the Supreme Verdicts and Detention Spheres.
How did you find the space for the Planeswalkers in the deck? So what's the blue-white deck running that you're not running?
In this list, and I've changed it to be even more like the blue-white list that I was running, or looking off of. The blue-white list that I was looking off of actually played 2 Kioras also, alongside the 4 Jason, 1 Elspeth, but it was the only greens that it was playing.
Oh, okay.
And otherwise it was pretty much this. They had 3 Dissolves, 2 Celestial, is it Flare?
Yes.
2 Celestial Flare. Trying to think of what else.
More Last Breath?
No, I don't think it's more Last Breath, but there definitely was probably a little more removal. There was definitely the 1 more Detention Sphere they were playing.
Were they doing Azorius Charms?
They weren't doing Azorius Charms either.
Okay.
It was like they were heavier into counterspells. 2 Syncopates, that was also it.
Okay.
So they had the 2 Essence Scatters, the 3 Dissolves, and the 2 Syncopates. And I'm running 1 Swan Song, because my thing with Syncopate is that it is really good early on, and that's cool. But Essence Scatter is going to do exactly what I want Syncopate to do early on anyway, you know? And at least Essence Scatter maintains a hard counter later on, too.
At a cheap price.
Yeah. And Syncopate's cool, but against aggressive decks, it's just useless in the late game, you know? You have to devote quite a bit of mana to get a counter spell out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas Essence Scatter is always 2. And so I played Swan Song instead, because I need to save my Planeswalkers, I guess. I need to stop gods and stuff like that. Underworld Connections. There's just a lot of good cards that are out there. I think I countered a Thassa with it too. I must have been in like today what I was playing versus Dan.
And you didn't mind the 2/2 bird?
The 2/2 is a lot easier to handle than usually a god, you know. So if I'm countering your god, then yeah. Or if you're playing Heroes Downfall on my guy, I guess I'd rather have you have a 2/2 that, you know, I can just wipe away with the rest of your board later on.
Yeah, or use Kiora on. I'd really like to know, how did Kiora end up?
Kiora was good. She was really good. I got the emblem off. Against,
really?
Yeah, I'm
that
trying
sounds
to think
way fun.
Against who. Yeah.
How hard did it take over?
I think it was Clint. and it was just game ending when I got it. So it was my round 3 opponent I got it against.
Is it during your end step you get it too?
You get it. Yeah.
So you emblem immediately get value.
Actually, it was the mono white guy. That was who it was because I got it my first one, and then when I got my second one, he was like, "Oh," because he didn't. I think he just didn't realize that it was going to be like that. Like I just get an extra one every turn, so you have to start dealing with them immediately. You have to kill me, basically.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But that's really cool, though. You said she played well. Do you remember locking down hugely relevant stuff?
I stopped a Chandra, from being able to ping me or.
Oh God, I forgot. She shuts off planeswalkers too.
She can target Mutavault, so you can wipe the board and still stop their Mutavault with Kiora.
That sounds great, actually. That's cool.
Like she's a really good control planeswalker. I will say that I think Ashiok was actually the big player of the day. There were a lot of things I stole today when I was playing for fun against a mono blue deck, Devotion, and I stole a Thassa off of it, and it just was like, it feels really good when you steal those really relevant things.
That's sweet.
Yeah, against one of the red-green opponents, I got.
Wait, how does that work? So you can play Thassa?
You remove the 3 counters and you get Thassa because she's a creature.
God, that's so good.
Yeah. And so it works like that with any god, too. So I'm trying to think of it must have been a Polychronos or something that I stole off of my opponent and then milled them more and just kept milling them.
Wow.
Against red-green, it's just amazing because their guys are so efficient that a 3rd turn Ashiok will actually get you a 4th turn 4-drop.
I underrated it, I gotta say. Even stealing like Pack Rat for you in this deck still, because you can still use the ability.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so Ashiok I really like it in this style of deck where they have a whole bunch of other planeswalkers they also have to think about how they're going to deal with. And Ashiok goes up by 2, so it's like they have to devote a lot more to it.
I definitely underrated her.
Mm-hmm.
She's a lot better than I gave her credit for.
Mm-hmm.
I knew she was a limited nightmare.
Literally
nightmare weaver.
All right.
But I didn't know she could be good and constructed or as good as she is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. And did Vraska come up to you?
Is really great, just as always an answer that,
Mm-hmm.
I've killed planeswalkers with it and just big creatures too, It is always exactly what you want. I did get the Vraska, kill that, they attack Vraska, get it back with Obsidat's Aid, and then kill something else with it the next turn,
cool.
And so they really have to. Obsidat's Aid that's what I wanted it to be. Was like which planeswalker, kind of literally a planeswalker of my choice out of my graveyard. So kind of a planeswalker tutor as long as they've already been played before.
How about Elspeth? How did she play?
Always good. Elspeth is always good.
Did you get to resolve her ever as a one-up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I got both of them. I mean, there were so many planeswalkers, and off Jace, it was like another Jace, a Kiora, and a land. And it's like split these into 2 piles. And then I think against that guy, I actually already had a Kiora in hand too.
So you took the Jace.
I took the Jace, and had the backup.
That's crazy. That's so cool because it's almost like there are planeswalkers like Kiora and like Jace that they have to focus on too. Mm-hmm. And that's so good for you because it buys you the time you might need to get right back in it with another planeswalker or draw a bunch of cards from Sphinx's Revelation.
I mean,
was that happening too?
I got to 2 in multiple games and stabilized in 1. Like off of all of my value basically. I had enough Sphinx's Revs, and Detention Sphere is really important for this deck too. So the changes I'm going to make, I'm going to take out the Prophetic Prisms and actually put those Celestial Flares in. Because the Prophetic Prisms never came up as needed, even. My mana base was always pretty solid. If I was going to change around my mana base, I'd probably take out like a Godless Shrine and a Breeding Pool and put in a Temple Garden and a Watery Grave just to even out those a little more.
Okay.
But I don't know if I need to do that.
It looks like a tough mana base to crack.
Yeah. So I'm more apt to want like another Watery Grave, I guess. So maybe I would take out a Godless Shrine to add a Watery Grave. But, still, I'm not 100% sure. I was really happy with the way that the mana base worked initially, like on my first run through. I didn't get mana screwed by it in one game out of all of the games I played on Friday night.
This deck looks sweet.
Yeah.
It looks fun. I mean, it's exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, I don't think anybody can deny Planeswalkers are the most fun
Yeah.
part in Magic to play.
Exactly.
So much decisions and decisions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it forces your opponent. Like once you have 2 Planeswalkers out, it's just like it's just uphill battle for your opponent at that point. And who was I playing against? It might have been the games I was playing against Dan today, but I had Kiora, Jace, and Elspeth all out at once, and it was just like, what are you gonna do? Like, how are you even gonna come back from this? So, yeah, it was pretty sweet. It's a fun deck. If you have an assload of Planeswalkers and you enjoy playing with Planeswalkers, I would actually recommend this deck if you like control and stuff. So basically, if you have the blue-white shell already to go.
This looks fun. I'm excited to see it play if you play in the future.
Yeah.
But before we go through your matches, why don't we just real quick go through the sideboard and just say what matches is for. So Dispel, where are you bringing that in?
It comes in against mono blue Devotion or a control deck, just to give you an extra stop to their gainsay. I would leave in the Swan Song against those decks too, and just bring in the Dispel.
Okay. Pithing Needle?
That's it can be used against any deck pretty much. It always can name Mutavault when you're the deck that doesn't run Mutavault, and then names Planeswalkers, like you don't run Xenagos, Domri, Garruk, or Chandra, so it names any of those Planeswalkers too.
Cool. Cyclonic Rift?
Cyclonic Rift, I wanted just a couple more early answers that were less color intensive to just bounce an aggressive deck's creatures.
Yeah, so you have 3 of them, so it's a big sideboard plan.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to go with it, if I would just take out some Planeswalkers that maybe screw with my mana base a little too much. Like, I think Ashiok is actually really important in that matchup, but maybe I'd take out 1 Kiora and the Vraska and bring in those, and then maybe take out Dissolve, because it's so late against an aggro deck. It's not that good.
That makes sense. 2 Negate?
2 Negate, that's against control pretty much exclusively. I don't think I'd bring it in against the mono blue Devotion deck, because it's too expensive to stop Gainsay, or to get into a counter fight with Gainsay, I should say. Or I don't like to get into a counter fight with Gainsay with a 2-mana counter.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
2 Revoke Existence?
That's against any god, basically. Detention Sphere. You're not going to be afraid of Chain to the Rocks, really, but Detention Sphere is going to be annoying, so it's another anti-control card.
Biden of Thassa, maybe?
Yeah, that one's a good one, too. Thassa herself.
Whip of Erebus?
Yeah, it's always good to get rid of any of those.
Cool. Yeah, I'm very surprised to see Revoke. It seems like a very powerful card right now with all of these mythic gods.
I think they just wanted to make sure that there was this release valve where you could always answer something.
It's a simple release valve.
Yeah, that sure does give a lot of release.
It is. All right, an extra Detention Sphere.
Yeah,
so
that one's pretty self-explanatory.
Aggro and mid-range even.
I'm toying with the idea of putting that in my main deck.
I think I might be on board with that too. It's such an important card right now.
Yeah, it really answers. It's a catch-all.
There's no Oblivion Ring right now, so what can you do? Okay, Jace Memory Deck.
Obviously against control. Yeah.
Yep. Lavinia the 10th.
This one is against any red-based deck, and I really like the way it played against red-based decks.
Nice.
Against green-red monsters, it stops Xenagos and Domri for a turn, so they can't do anything with them. Stops Gore-Clan Rampager, Polychronos, and everything that costs less than that. Okay. So the only thing in red-green monsters it doesn't stop is Xenagos God, which you can block with it, and Stormbreath Dragon, which you couldn't block with it anyway, even if it did fly.
No,
so
that's true.
Lavinia is good as a one-of, and I think I took out probably. I don't think I took out Vraska for it.
And you
maybe
did
get
to resolve it and saw value from it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think Ashiok is really important against red-green monsters, so it probably would take out a Kiora for the Lavinia.
Psychic Spiral.
That's another anti-control, but anti-mill if somebody decided to play mill.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Since I already have the elixir, I just would have a backup plan to it if it got milled.
Merciless Eviction.
Just another Wrath. I play 5 with Elspeth. I count Elspeth as a
Pseudo
Wrath.
Wrath, yeah.
Especially against the monsters deck, and I used her that way several times. Merciless Eviction just gives you an out to everything else then, you know.
Okay, and then Palisade Giant.
This is my tech against anyone that's an aggressive deck, and I can play out Planeswalkers early enough to slam this down on turn 6 and just be like, there I am, you know, you can't really do much about me. I wish it had a little more awesomeness with Kiora, but Kiora can only target your opponent's permanents, sadly. Otherwise, it would be a really great card for Kiora.
That's a funny sideboard card, though.
Yeah.
All right, let's quickly run through your matches. So round 1, you played Red Deck Wins.
Yep.
And you lost 1-2. So what happened? You're supposed to be good in that match.
Yeah. In the first game, I'm trying to think of how it all went down. I think I won in the first game. This was one of those that I stabilized at 2 and then got back into it. I think all in all, it's that I don't play enough in this build. Wasn't playing enough early removal.
Just a bit too slow.
Yeah, and you know, I think taking out the Prophetic Prisms and putting in more early removal will help to alleviate that.
Okay.
And if I do decide to put in the 4th Detention Sphere, which, you know, I'm not 100% sold on Aetherling, honestly, because I already play so many Planeswalkers.
And enough that can win.
Yeah, and the fact that I'm running Elixir, that it's like I can just rebuy Planeswalkers too.
Yeah,
you know?
I think you have enough win cons in here.
Yeah.
Elspeth's win con, definitely. Vraska, not so much, but
Can
potentially.
be a little bit, yeah.
Jace, I like that you can take their win con, so that's if you ultimate. Kiora obviously is a win con.
And Ashiok definitely.
And Ashiok too. So I think enough of your Planeswalkers can win.
Yeah.
But that is definitely a long game plan.
Yeah.
It's not like you're doing it in a short game. That's not happening. So I feel like Aetherling can potentially come down, you know, right at turn 7.
Yeah. And impact the board like huge.
Yeah.
Stop attacks at you.
Put them on a 2-turn clock.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It's true. Aetherling is really strong. It could be moved to the sideboard and place a Detention Sphere, though. You know, that's all I'm saying, I guess.
Okay.
But I don't know what I would take out. Like, maybe exchange Vraska for Aetherling in some matches. But, you know, Vraska is kind of the catch-all. It's a little lackluster against aggro decks, though. You know.
Okay. Well, I mean, you'll get some more cheap removal in here, and I think that'll be good. So round 2, you played mono white's aggro.
Yep. So I got to play against another aggro deck and did pretty well against this one.
And that was just on the back of some Supreme Verdicts, really, just outvaluing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that match has hurt a lot if they don't. It wasn't running the Boros Charms.
He didn't even do Brave in the main deck, so he was like already weak to my spot removal, too.
I see. Well, he's got to run Brave.
Yeah, and he wasn't running the Boros Charm.
Okay. Well,
he did have Rootborn defenses, but he didn't have Boros Charm.
I
see. It was like mono white, straight up.
Round 3, you did Red-Green Monsters, and you beat that 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk your way through that match? Does that feel like a pretty good match for you because they're ramping into mid-range creatures?
I think it's like it's either way. I really do think that is not necessarily favored for me. I think Red Deck Wins has the over-the-head burn. You know, I can definitely handle permanents. I'm a little weak to spells, so I think Red Deck actually has the advantage on me because they can just keep attacking past my Planeswalkers. You know, unless I have Jace, Kiora, and Elspeth out, I'm not really able to necessarily stop their attack.
I see.
So,
but what about what's the
red-green monsters? I do think I have an okay matchup, but I still think it is kind of a.
What are they beating you with? Just two.
Storm Breath is the biggest thing.
Okay.
Because it's haste. You know, comes down, and unless I have to like Supreme Verdict it or counter it. Yep. And in this case, I wasn't even running the Celestial Flares, which could kill it.
And actually, that's a good point because your Planeswalkers are really not that great against Storm Breath at all.
Mm-hmm. No, not in any way.
Sorcerer speed abilities like that are very weak to haste.
I don't even know what a good thing against it is other than playing maybe a little more removal like I'm planning. So
yeah, no, the Celestial Flare might be a really good
Yeah,
idea.
I think that's. I played it today.
Killing Blood Baron too.
Yeah,
That seems so big.
I played it today in the like for fun game that I played today, or games.
And you're happy with it?
Yeah, and it worked. Like
Okay.
I didn't have a problem getting double white that early either.
But you'd rather have that than Devour?
I don't want to go too deep into black. I have,
Okay.
I think, 4 cards that require black.
I see. So you're mostly just blue-white.
Yeah.
All right. And then you played a different red-green, and you lost in round 4,
Mhm.
1-2. What
Yep.
happened there? So that was
I think
just
this
the
guy
Storm
got
Breath?
me with Storm Breath
Okay.
in the last. Like he had the Chandra out, and I did use Kiora on the Chandra, so he used the 0 ability, but he got a Storm Breath off the 0 ability. You
Okay.
know? So he just slammed it, and he had. I was at 8 life at that point, so he just had to attack.
That sucks.
Yeah.
And the Storm Breath has that relevant,
Mhm.
monstrosity ability too
Right.
for the next turn. Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep up to date with this deck. I hope you stick around with this one.
I definitely want to keep this one going because it's a lot of fun to play. Even if I only go 2 and 2 all the time, it still is like a load of fun to play.
This seems like a great deck.
Yeah.
Or potentially, in a few weeks, if you stick with it, you can mold this into something really good. I
Mhm.
think you'll just have to. I'm sure you're going to end up tweaking some numbers and
Yeah.
figuring stuff out. Just metasizing it. You know.
Right.
All right. Well,
Metastasize.
Ooh, spoiler. All right, let's go to Star City. Let's look at some. Let's do the metagame breakdown. Oh, you know what that eagle means? That hawk or eagle, whatever.
Bird of prey, raptor of some sort.
New Jersey Open Series canceled. Well, there's some news for you. There's a metagame breakdown for you.
That is a breakdown.
Let's see. Do we want to look at this standard? Well,
actually,
is there even a more recent one?
no, that list there is the one I built the deck off of.
The Esper midrange?
No,
The blue-white control?
one of those guys. I think it was Chi Hoi Yim, though, maybe.
Okay.
No, it was the other guy. I'm sorry.
All right. No
It
problem.
was Tan Gao.
Tangao. Okay, so this. Oh, I see. And he did the cures, like you were saying.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. All right, they were doing ratchet bombs
Yeah.
as well. Celestial flares, like you said. One more dissolve, and the syncopates, like you said. Okay. Still,
Ratchet bombs could be like a plan for me too. It's just that I run all the planeswalkers. I felt uncomfortable going to anything in the 3, 4, 5 range.
true.
You know?
I mean, primarily isn't ratchet bomb killing 2 drops,
It's true. It's true.
and it's colorless, so it's not
Hard
hindering.
on the mana base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be something you can consider.
Mhm.
I know you're gonna have a hard time finding room just because of the amount of planeswalkers you have to
Yeah.
run. But that's cool. So we've got. Let's see if Owen switched anything up. He's got the Drown and Sorrows in sideboard. So
4 Bioblights main.
and wow, 4 Bioblight main deck. I feel like he changed his spell suit a little bit, huh? Less Devour Flesh. I think before it was 4 Devour Flesh.
Well, Bioblight takes that spot, or helps to.
And well, this is pretty interesting. Still a lot of 4s. This looks like something Owen Turtenwald would run. Not that much different. Looks like Drown and Sorrow, Bioblight, really the only new additions. But those are good additions.
Mhm.
I mean, it won him the tourney. So let's see this Esper midrange. Ooh, this looks kind of fun. We've got Brimaz, a new addition, and Afara.
Cool.
Curiously enough, I like it.
And a Hellion, which works really well with Afara.
Cool. No, yeah, I think we had actually
Yeah,
talked about that during
I think so,
spoilers.
too.
So we've got Far and Away. Okay. Spear of Heliod. Whip. Heliod and the Spear of Heliod's pretty good. This is an interesting looking deck. I'm always happy to see Lee of Sky Knight. Just a cool card
I really like that card,
in
too.
general. And it gets to value trading with Nightveil Spectre. So it fits into the meta just fine right now if you're in those colors. And I think its problem is blue-white is usually the control players. So seeing it in this sort of way is weird.
Yeah, that's true.
But this looks cool. I like it.
2 Blood Barons on the board. Only 1 Ocean Thief.
I gotta say, I'm surprised to see Afara. I'm very curious how it ended up playing. Let's look at the black-white mid-range. All right, we've got some Blood Barons, main win con. Actually, it looks like a lot of the mono black devotion, except Blood Baron and Elspeth as additional win cons. Other than that, it's almost identical. Sideboard, you get the revoke existences though, and opposite odds. So I feel like this deck does get some cooler, more versatile options, but the mono black probably has the consistency for what
Being
it's trying to
mono,
do. Yeah. Let's look at this mono black aggro. I hope this is what I think it is with Pain Seers and such. Yeah. Okay. So Herald of Torment, Tormented Hero, Rakdos, Cackler, Pain Seer, Pack Rat, Moguses, Marauders, Lifebane Zombies. Cool.
Only 2 Marauder and 3 Paints here.
You and I had built something very similar to this in Tapped Out, just sort of see how it played, and it was fun. I mean, it was fairly consistent. We had a few turn 4 wins, I want to say, too, where we were like drawing cards. Actually, I don't think the Pack Rat was part of the list, was it, that we were doing?
No, I don't think so either.
So this is very interesting. I think that works, though.
Yeah, I think it's still really good.
I like that idea, because then they can still go all in on it and start discarding Cacklers.
Too, you can draw extra cards to discard.
Or even just start discarding Cackler and Tormented Hero for a Rat, because you'd rather have that anyway. So that's kind of cool. I like this. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. Let's check out Junk Reanimator. Definitely want to check this out. So our animation spells are Obsidian's Aid and Whip of Erebus. And we've got Ashen Rider as the res target. I'm digging that.
Deathrite for value.
Satyr Wayfinder. We had talked about that.
3.
Shadowborn Demon.
Pretty good.
That's
actually really good off Whip.
Yep,
Shadowborn
and it's got the whole Whip Obsidian thing going on for it, so it's
proven to be very good.
Yeah, and in this case, very good because it's setting it up with all the self mill. So if you have the Whip, if you ever find the 2 components while digging through your deck, you can do some really cool stuff. I like it. Yeah, could you see yourself playing something like this, or maybe not?
This one's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
Does Voice seem out of place?
Yeah,
or?
I feel like Voice is really out of place for this deck, but
it's just early protection, bog the board down, buy 'em time. Lotless Troll I've never been big on in this kind of deck, but I mean I see what it's doing.
I feel like Lotless Troll is a little more within the bounds of what the deck wants.
I see what, yeah, I mean it's discarding if in case you have it in your hand.
Yeah, I would almost take out the Voices, put in 1 more Lotleth and 1 more Satyr Wayfinder, since you can ditch them to Lotleth Trolls too. And maybe even another Deathrite if you really want the more early game stuff. And then just 1 more big res target. Yeah,
and Deathrite can actually ramp you in this deck too because of the Grizzly Salvages and even the Wayfinders if you have multiple lands.
I'm a little surprised you didn't decide to go with any rescue from the Underworld.
Yeah, I guess Obsidian's Aid, and it's only 3 res spells total, really, so interesting deck. Angel of Serenity is kind of always cool to see.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to see it much. Do you want to look at a blue-black control, maybe?
Yeah.
Check this out. We've got, ooh, this is odd already. Zathrid Necromancers and Shadowborn Demons.
Oh, it's just going for the double.
Multiple Aetherlings. Interesting. Well, I guess it doesn't have any... It's got Bioblights.
And Drown in Sorrow. It's a 1-of?
Main deck. 2 more side. Very interesting deck.
2 Whip.
4 Mutavault, though, too.
This is a very strange deck.
It is. I agree. Control without Sweeper. I guess it does have Drown in Sorrow.
1 Drown in Sorrow main, but Bioblight is what it was using.
Let's check out this black-white aggro real quick. This sounds intriguing. Blood Baron and Desecration Demons. Herald of Torment, Brimaz, Obsidian. Bioblight, Hero's Downfall, Whip, Thoughtseize. Well, this is an interesting spread of creatures. I could probably get behind this. A wee bit color intensive, but he's only 2 color. You can make that work. He's also doing 3 Mutavault.
He's playing the full spread duels, though.
Godless Shrine, Temple of Silence, and pretty even spread beyond that. I could see this deck having some mana issues. I'm very curious how the Brimaz is playing. King of Oreskos. Let's check out this blue-white auras. This sounds very interesting. Hero of Irois, Judge's Familiar, Meletes, Astronomer. I think we talked about this. This is the 2-drop 1/3 with Heroic. Look at the top 3, reveal an enchantment, and put it in your hand, which is cool. Eidolon of Countless Battles. We definitely talked about this dude. This is cool. So this looks
Yeah.
like a deck where, yeah, this actually
I kind
looks.
of like this idea already.
Yeah,
With
so
blue.
Eidolon of Countless Battles is 3 mana 0/0, and it bestows for 4, and it gets +1/+1 for each creature and +1/+1 for each aura you control. So he's got the ethereal armors in here, and just those two together becomes 4, I believe, right? Because this buffs double, and this buffs double too. Because it gets its own buff
Yeah.
plus this,
Hmm.
and so it's a double. It's like a.
So those two together is a 4/4 first strike.
It's a really cool card.
Yeah.
I wanted to see Eidolon of Countless Battles do some stuff, and I think it really can. Hopeful Eidolon in here too. I'm assuming we are literally looking at all, except for Brimez. We're looking at just, I guess not that. Well, what, 12 is it? Aura creatures, enchantment creatures? Something like that.
Well, the ones that can bestow.
He's also got
Excuse
Ordeal
me.
of Thassa, Spear of Heliod, Detention Sphere. Some cool stuff in here.
Yeah. He had 11 guys that are bestow, and then 6 additional auras.
Is that right?
But Hero of Iros makes your stuff cost less too, so casting the Eidolon on Hero on turn 3, what's that put it to? +2/+2 plus the +1/+1 counter, so it's a 5/5 just by itself on turn 3.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I want to see this deck in action for sure. And I'm very surprised to see Afara, but that's cool. All right, let's.
I'm kind of surprised to see the Spirit of the Labyrinth, actually. Since, why are you running Afara if you want to be doing, like, Spirit of the Labyrinth?
Yeah, you're right. That is weird. I guess it's just a 2-mana 3/1. So it's aggressive with ethereal armor.
I suppose. Yeah, actually, it's really good with Ethereal Armor, so never mind. I would take Afara out.
But that's a cool list. I want to see more things like that.
Heliod would be better.
Spit out more enchantment creatures.
Yeah.
Enchantment permanent.
Hmm.
Good call. I think I can get behind that too. All right, let's go to Weird Harvest this week. Weird Harvest. Exciting, exciting. All right. This week we've got a Door to Nothingness. Whoa.
Whoa.
And we specifically, because of the picture, chose the Door to Nothingness from Fifth Dawn. So let's just quickly say what it is. A 5-mana artifact. Comes into play tapped, and tap 2 of each color, and tap and sack it, and target player loses the game. Jake, maybe you want to. Do you know what this card ever really have a deck, or not really? 5-color control. Did they ever juke it, or was it just
No.
too expensive?
I think it's, like, played exclusively casually.
Do people play it in Commander? You call them losers.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty dick move, but if you could do it to everybody in one turn, so if you had infinite mana and a way to res it, that's fine. But if you're gonna, like, draw it out, then no, you're a dick.
So we specifically chose the Fifth Dawn one. Why don't you describe the picture?
It's an Auriok male being tossed into a well. I don't fully understand the art, except that it's an Auriok guy. I do know that. And he's falling into the door to nothingness.
It's almost like cartoonish,
Yeah.
though. You know, it's very cartoony, I think. And the reason I thought it was funny is just, I think it's the actual perspective of it. It makes his head look, like, big, too, because
Yeah.
of the depth they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Something seems really wonky about it. It's like playing NBA
Yeah.
Jam with the fatty head
Yeah.
thing on.
Yeah. You should show the M13, I think it was.
Okay, so we can look at the
version.
other picture
Because
of
the
it.
other art is actually really, good, I think.
Yeah, this is kind of cool.
This
This one's
is
like a guy holding a...
Yeah. This shows an artifact to me. You know, the other art doesn't show an artifact. The other thing is that this is the one that's printed with the colored mana symbols. The Fifth Dawn version was printed with the, like, the colored mana symbols as colorless, basically.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because they didn't know they should be doing that then.
They had to change
Even though
it.
they had been doing it all along, like, previously, you know.
Yeah, that's weird. But I mean, this is a really funny.
Hmm.
You can't deny it. It's a really funny picture. So check out the fifth down one if you haven't seen the
Mhm.
picture already with the weird perspective shot. Something about it is just so, I don't know. It's just weird. It's like the way he's yelling too, the way his hair and like,
He just looks like he's falling. He just looks like he's falling. It doesn't look like it's sucking him in, which is what it's supposed to
yeah,
look
you're
like.
right.
You know,
It looks like he's
it
just,
looks like he's falling down a well. Like, yeah, that's shitty. It's shitty luck. It's not somebody used their artifact against you.
and just the name too.
Yeah.
Door to nothing. Door to
The
nothingness.
door to nothing.
It's like an episode of the Twilight Zone
Yeah.
kind of name. So, it's just such an odd artifact too. I mean, you don't see a lot of cards that just
You know,
the whole lose game thing has always been really kind of lame.
I hate artifacts that are not really artifacts. When you say door to nothingness, it's more like a place to me. It's more like a land, you know?
Yeah,
Or like
that's a good point.
I
Or at least give a color to it. It doesn't sound like something that's colorless.
yeah,
It sounds like something that's black or something that's
right.
even white. It can be black or
It
white.
actually sounds more enchantment based in a way, you know, like it sounds more like mystical than what an artifact makes you think of.
That's
You
true.
know?
Why does a door automatically have to be colorless? That
Right.
doesn't make sense.
No, it makes me think of other artifacts that are annoying, like Crumbling Sanctuary, which is literally like a broken hole in a cliffside, you know? How is that an artifact? You know, you're showing me a land.
Well, have we ragged on this card enough?
Yeah, I think
for
we
one?
got it. I think
Okay.
we got it. I
All
think
right.
people understand our loathsome
Well,
perspective on
I
it.
think that's going to be our updates for this week. No F&M report. Planning on putting up a bunch more Born of the God draft videos soon. So check those out at YouTube or at SeemsGoodMagic.com. And follow us on Twitter at SeemsGoodMagic. Email me, mortarpod at SeemsGoodMagic.com. I want to hear from you guys. All right. Have a good night or day whenever you're listening to this, I guess.
Yeah.
Take her easy, guys.
Later.